Rapid fire. Rapid fire.
Tales of dutiful cops and brutal law enforcement have often defined the action genre across decades, and some fictitious universes have taken this even further, with a touch of sci-fi, with Judge Dredd establishing a sophisticated system for justice in Mega City 1, and Alex Murphy transforming into RoboCop to punish wrongdoers. These futuristic cops have become household names over time. Fans have even wondered which one of them would emerge as the toughest future cop, and today we'll be exploring both Judge Dredd and RoboCop to come to a definitive conclusion. Now, before we go into explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means an awful lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Origins and backstory. Now, before diving into their combat skills and durability, let us explore their origins to see how they transformed into these forces of justice. Created by John Wagner in the 2000 AD comic series, Judge Joseph Dredd was cloned in the laboratory after the attempted suicide of a past judge to ensure that he has a lineage. While he was born at the accelerated age of 5 years, Dredd's enhanced skills and computer program mind helped him enroll in the city's Academy of Law. After training for 13 years, Dredd was granted full judicial power in the aftermath of the Atomic Wars, and he then left the Academy to enforce the law on the streets of Mega City 1. The city was placed under martial law, and Dredd got a taste for dispensing justice through violent, crude ways before returning to the Academy. After he completed his training, he cleared the hot dog run assessment and was sworn in as a judge in Mega City 1, where he gained a reputation for taking down criminal gangs and defending the innocent. On the other hand, Alex Murphy was born to Russell and Dorothy Murphy in 1953 and had a relatively normal childhood. Eventually, he got married and had a child while also establishing himself as an upstanding police officer in the Detroit police force, where he was unfortunately killed in the line of duty at the hands of a criminal lord named Clarence Bodeker. In his last moments, Lewis and his medevac team rushed him to the hospital, but it was too late to save his life. While his condition deteriorated and he was declared dead, the mega corporation known as Omni Consumer Products secretly held onto some of his organic components and integrated them into their newest invention, RoboCop. This cybernetic law enforcement entity essentially used Murphy's face and some portions of his brain to produce this unit. Upon activation, RoboCop recollected events from Murphy's life and even attempted to avenge his death while working alongside the police force in the OCP Crime Prevention Unit 001. Abilities and combat skills. Judge Dredd had gained peak human physiology as a result of his extensive training, and he had superhuman strength and speed. In addition to this, he had a range of advanced technology at his disposal, and he was skilled in operating all kinds of firearms. Judge Dredd was a tactical genius who always knew his way out of any situation. He had gathered years of experience in diffusing violent situations and dispelling justice in the best possible manner, but he was also adept at hand-to-hand combat, and he did not shy away from a good fight. On the other hand, RoboCop's strength greatly relied on his cybernetically enhanced physiology, which boosted his durability and endurance. As a human, Alex Murphy had succumbed to his injuries, and the OCP then rebuilt him as a robotic entity with bulletproof armor and internal combat programming. In this way, he could take on any opponent and even break up fights effortlessly while working alongside the police force. He was particularly known for excelling at pinpoint targeting, but most of his skills relied on his cybernetically enhanced body, and he could not do much in case his armor was damaged. Weapons and gear. For starters, Judge Dredd had the lethal voice-activated machine pistol known as Lawgiver, which was authorized for every single judge as their standard sidearm. These pistols were equipped with security features to ensure that they didn't fall into the wrong hands, and they had a range of specialized ammo, including armor-piercing dense bullets, rubber bullets, and incendiary bullet rounds that could set things on fire. Dredd also had an official Lawmaster bike, the Widowmaker 2000 automatic shotgun, and a two-handed day-stick club with a titanium core. He also had the Scattergun or the Arbitrator, a pump-action shotgun with several ammo types, including a standard slug, shot shell, armor-piercing slug, and ricochet slug that could stun the target. Dredd also wore protective gear such as the judge's helmet and had infrared vision glasses, a flying vehicle, a car, and a war droid. He also had a boot knife, concussion grenades, and bulky robots known as the Midwife Machine for additional assistance. Dredd also had access to Land Raider robots, who were essentially low-intelligence war war droids that served as backup and assisted him across the cursed Earth. On the other hand, RoboCop had the option to pick between a range of shotguns and rifles, such as the Auto 9, Desert Eagle, NI-408, UC-9, M2 battle rifle, and the Sig Sauer P226. He also had access to the Cobra assault cannon, the Pulse rifle, and the Norinco Type 56, as well as the Heckler & Koch P9S. RoboCop's cybernetic gear also provided him with a lot of protection from incoming attacks, and he also had a bulletproof vest that helped him dodge bullets, knives, or any other sharp objects directed his way. While he typically used the Auto 9 pistol to defend himself, he sometimes got his hands on the Coleco M958 machine gun as well. Durability and endurance. Judge Dredd was known as a tough, highly trained individual who exhibited high durability and endurance. While he was an extremely resilient being, it is still important to note that he was a human at the end of the day. He mostly wore his durable helmet and rarely ever took it off, and while he seemed slim, he had quite a muscular build that further contributed to his durability. On the other hand, RoboCop had a nearly invulnerable piece of armor that could withstand heavy damage and operated with barely any maintenance. His body was encased in a bulletproof titanium steel grade armor, which boosted his resistance to most weapons. Moreover, he was strong enough to pick up a whole man and smash him through brick walls, and it had quite an enhanced endurance to pain or incoming attacks. Weaknesses. Judge Dredd's strong sense of justice could also be a weakness under some circumstances, as he had to withdraw himself from a scene if his opponents were not truly guilty of committing a crime. By this logic, it is quite unlikely that he would ever even fight against RoboCop, as he was quite restricted by his strict adherence to the law. However, Dredd does have a major weakness in the form of his weapons, as his most powerful rifles and power weapons take quite some time to reload. At the end of the day, he also had a human physiology that restricted his movements to some extent. On the other hand, RoboCop's programming was quite vulnerable to hacking, and he was often susceptible to corruption. He also had slower mobility on foot, and he required a daily power charge. He also had some vulnerable human organics, a weak mechanical heart, and a vulnerability to liquid nitrogen freezing. He also had restricted durability, and his battery lasted only 24 hours without recharging. This battery drained even faster in case he was damaged, and his human programming sometimes even conflicted with his cybernetic programming. In fact, he was vulnerable to catching human illnesses like colds, and sometimes he would shoot lightning bolts out of his face when he sneezed. His directives also prevented him from placing his superior officers under arrest, but this could be nullified in case these officials were fired or if they resigned. Enemies and threats. Judge Dredd's enemies ranged from mutants and crime syndicates to other dark judges and corrupt officials, as he did not shy away from administering justice no matter who stood in front of him. He often faced threats in the forms of Mean Machine Angel and the Angel Gang in general, who were a family of scruffy, cruel thugs that hailed from the cursed Earth. He also had several rivals within the judges community, and Judge Death was notably his arch enemy alongside Judge Kraken and Judge Flex. Judge Death also led a team of supernatural entities in the form of the Dark Judges that hailed from extraterrestrial dimensions and made it their mission to kill every living being. Besides these threats, Judge Dredd often fought against the Brotherhood of Darkness, the Neon Knights, and the Thule brothers, but one of his biggest enemies was none other than his own brother, Rico Dredd. Besides this, Dredd also faced trouble in the form of Chief Judge Caligula, Chopper aka Marlon Shakespeare, PJ maybe, and Sabat, the Necromagus. During the Judge Child quest, Dredd also fought against the alien sorcerer Murd, the Oppressor, and eventually faced War Marshal Kazand and Orlok, the assassin, during the Apocalypse War. On the other hand, RoboCop had typically faced crime lords and rogue corporations, in addition to corrupt police officers and killer robots. The Old Man appears as the overarching antagonist of the series, and he was the chairman of OCP and also responsible for RoboCop's transformation. Besides him, RoboCop also fought against Kane, a notorious drug lord who ran the new cult and eventually descended into insanity before facing our titular protagonist in the movie sequel. RoboCop also had a long-standing grudge against Clarence Boddicker, who was responsible for his death in the first film, and he also had other enemies such as Richard Jones, Emil and Wendell Antonowski, and Hob Mills. Who would win? While comparing their fighting methods, Judge Dredd typically took his time to observe his opponents and use his knowledge of the place to outsmart them. He relied on tactics and guerrilla tactics to emerge victorious, and was known for coming up with his tactics in real time. He was quite adept at hand-to-hand combat and had a range of weapons at his disposal, while RoboCop had several built-in combat enhancements to boost his strength. RoboCop's armor was also known to be nearly indestructible, and he could endure serious damage without blinking an eye. Fans have often noted that RoboCop adheres to the law and takes time to assess the situation, while Judge Dredd has a more hands-on approach that would help him in a fight. Dredd's sense of justice is also quite brutal. While RoboCop often showed mercy and hesitated to deliver a final blow, Dredd's weaponry is also way more advanced than RoboCop's, increasing his chances of winning in a one-on-one fight. However, one cannot easily rule out RoboCop, as his computer programming provides him with tactical analysis that might work in his favor. His cybernetic body also makes him more invulnerable as compared to Judge Dredd, whose human physique might be more susceptible to damage. So to conclude, RoboCop might be more physically durable, but Dredd certainly has an edge when it comes to his arsenal, and both these characters might have a fair chance at emerging victorious based on the circumstances under which they face each other. Marvelous verdict, and we've explored both Judge Dredd as well as RoboCop's characteristic features and combat styles. Both these characters have their signature MOs and way of dealing with crime and injustice, and they both have a good chance of overpowering one another in certain situations, respectively. While we've explored their chances in a fight against each other, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, if you like the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.